first president, setting up the African government. Marcus Garvey, our first president, Emperor Haile Selassie, the king of kings in Africa. Marcus Garvey, the first president. Rastafari can be your prime minister. Jamaica can be your foot soldier. Setting up the African government. Marcus Garvey, our first president. That's what we do. And that's the advance. It means that the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey, that is what is centered in the heads of the leaders of Africa, because Marcus Garvey told you how to overcome corruption in government. Rastafari, give thanks. My name is Seymour. We come from Clarendon, Jamaica, Bedford Crab, and we come to England November the 18th, 1966. So we're there a very long time now. And right now we're chaplain of the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated.
Yes, sir. That's line was.
Honorable my lord, what was your journey and how did you come into the Rastafari way of life and your early involvement in the Rastafari movement?
Well, Rastafari, give thanks. I was in Jamaica in 1966 when Emperor Haile Selassie come there. I was an experience as a child, and I saw things that children see, and it's a bit difficult to explain now. But, I came to England on a vibes. Coming from Clarendon, Jamaica, we get a good send-off. When we get send-off from Jamaica, Bam Bam was number one. Toots is the cousin, the family. So we come up to England, and we go to school. We have not a good experience in school, because when we leave Jamaica, we sing 15 times table. And when we come to England at 5 and 5, then give it on the blackboard in Wixes Lane Primary School in Battersea. And when we tell the teachers that we know all those things, teachers say, well, go to the back of the class and don't say nothing else. And that was the end of my education in school. Because we were singing our times tables in Jamaica. And over here, they wasn't doing that. So we were much more advanced. So we got through, we reached William Blake School, Southland and Battersea. And that's where we grew up. And then it was in 1981 we found out that there was a famine in Ethiopia. And we reached the Rastafari headquarters, as it was in St. Agnes Place at that time. And the Rastaman who was there was Ras Pepe Judah, Ras Bingi Maskram, and Ras Malachi was the great teachers at the time. And Ras Bingi said to me, say, you can read? Because I used to wear some dapper pinstripe suit and silk socks and things like that. And I said, yes, me can read. He said, can your Bible come? Read Revelation 5 verse 5. It said the Lion of Judah opened the book and loosed the seventh seal. He said, good, the Lion of Judah get him crowned 2nd of November 1930. And from that we start with investigation. What happened 2nd of November 1930, going backwards in time and forward up to now. And that was our introduction into the Rastafari movement in 1981. And we've never stopped since.
So what was your involvement as a child, as a youth growing up?
Well, my early involvement was trying to, how do you get the message of Rastafari into an English student? Because my teachers, they used to teach from Bible and talk. Pepe Judah, he used to stand up and talk for hours, he was the president. And he used to live off every word when he said. Malachi, he used to read in Bible when the president stopped talking. Malachi used to read the Bible. And Bingi was the drummer. And the message of Rastafari was stronger then because the ISIS was greater. But how do you inculcate children into that teaching lesson, that spiritual and cultural education, without documentation? There was no documentation. So I started researching the documentation supporting the claim that Emperor Haile Selassie is the Lion of Judah. When Ras Bingi said to me, say, him get him crowned 2nd of November 1930, because them time the man talk with a big voice and call him Mighty Dread. We go to the public records office in Kew Garden and ask the clerk, could you give me the file for England and Ethiopia 1930, please? And inside of that file, November the 2nd, 1930, King George of England, King George V, sent his son, the Duke of Gloucester, to Addis Ababa for the coronation of Emperor Haile Selassie and gave him a scepter to present to the emperor. On that scepter it says, Emperor Haile Selassie I is the Lion of Judah. It says he's the King of Kings. It means to say what the Rastaman them saying is right. But they never had access to the documentation. What the Rastaman is saying is right, but they never had access to the official temporal documentation. They had access to the Bible, but the temporal documentation to say that Emperor Haile Selassie is the Lion of Judah, we never had that. And that's what we went into the libraries and discovered.
All right. Now, the eye is famous in the annals of Rastafari history as the book liberator, right? Just explain what you did and your intention in liberating these books on Ethiopia and African history.
Well, it's when you reach Rasta HQ in a St. Agnes place. It's a firehouse. It's the original firehouse where Mighty Dread and Fireman live. And it's original Bingy house and it's original bun book, bun paper say, and bun pen. So, true we live in England and was experiencing the English world, you need to document certain things. So when the Mighty Dreads have them taught now, how do you convey that talk to a student or someone living in England who didn't hear the talk but they need to know it had to be documented? So we started taking minutes. Then Pepe Judah introduced the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated in 1981. It was a massive conference in Lambeth Town Hall in 1981 concerning repatriation and what is it that I and I as Rastafari have in common. What we have in common is that Emperor Haile Selassie is the Almighty and repatriation is a must. And based on those two premises, Rastagasa left London, went to Addis Ababa and established himself there. We researched Shashamane, the land grant, re-established that, built the HQ there. The documentation, I led the research. We had a research and repatriation committee. Rastagasa led the repatriation. Him research, finish him gone. Him and his family him gone to Addis Ababa.
Yes.
And he built his house from foundation there.
That's right.
I led the research. Now, research means you couldn't just say Emperor Haile Selassie is Almighty God. You can't just say that. You have to prove by work. His works will reveal him. So you have to show in documentary evidence
Yes, sir.
when was he crowned, who was there, who were the witnesses, what were their comments,
Yes.
who were the eyewitnesses. So we had to get all those information together. Then the crux of the problem was Ethiopia was starving. 1981 there was a massive famine, millions of starving children. When you look on television, you say bang God pick and fly all over them. It make you feel like you don't want to eat no food yourself because these children could do better. Well, the judgment on the famine is that Isaiah chapter 1. You must start in the spiritual realm first. I have hear, O heavens, and you give here, O earth, because Rastafari is speaking. I have brought up children, and my children have rebelled against me. Oh, what a woe, what a weeping and a mourning. And that was what happened. They lost the central government planning authority of food supplies, roads, administration, accountability.
Right.
The revolution wiped that away, and now they're left by not being able to administer what was the breadbasket of East Africa. So the famine was there. You needed urgency. So you couldn't go to work and make money and feed the children. You need urgent money now. So you would use your archive, you'd use your savings, you'd use your 3,000 years of history that Ethiopia had. Where is it? I come from Jamaica, Clarendon. Where the 3,000 years of history there, because you can use that to mitigate the sharper end of the famine. There's two things. One is what you can do to help yourself, and is what others can do to help. In Europe at the time, there were food mountains, there were wine lakes, too much food, people not knowing what to do with the excess food, and there was famine in Ethiopia. I was in the world where the political world. I could come and go in Smith Square like I could come and go in the Hark and sit and talk with the people. That's what that was me in Smith Square. And we could mitigate the sharp end of the famine. No, we're not going to do nothing like that. But the people are starving. Oh no, we're not going to do nothing. So I was dismayed in that. So when I went now to the Rastafari people and they showed me that there is a focus I was attracted to that vision because where I was, there was no vision. Good. So I was in Greenwich in St. Agnes Place. So I started looking for where is a document. If you are 3,000 years old, where is your documentation? Because there is a problem that needs solving. So I started looking for documentation. I first went to the Public Records Office in Kew Gardens. The first serious documentation I got was the scepter, the gold scepter document that King George V of England gave to His Majesty for the coronation. In reading that scepter document, it says, we are given the gold scepter based on 2 books. The Kebra Nagast, which I later discovered to be the glory of kings, given the visit of Queen of Sheba to King Solomon and the line of Ethiopian kings. And it's mentioned twice in the Bible, at 1 Kings and in Chronicles. So there are references. And the Lifafa Sedek. Now, tracing the Lifafa Sedek, it is the book of life. I see the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books are open. And another book is open, which is the book of life. In Ethiopia, they call it Lifafa Sedek, Masafa Hewat. In Giz, Lifafa Sedek. In Amharic, Masafa Hewat. In English, Book of Life. And they gave that book to Emperor Selassie. It's written in his own language. The original is in Giz. So, why are you giving the king that book for his coronation? I mean, I recognize it, but where you get it from? Or you have it? So, His Majesty is talking at his coronation now. And he's talking at this, he's unveiling the statue at Menelik. And we're studying his speech. And he says, I am carrying on the work of previous emperors of Ethiopia. Emperor Menelik, Emperor Yohannes, and Emperor Tewadros. What? More emperor Ethiopia there, but me never know who is Menelik. And we start tracing Menelik. Who is Yohannes? And we start tracing. Who is Theodore? And we start tracing Theodore. Well, when we start the trace on Theodore, the British government says that they sent the army there. The army came back into England with all his manuscripts that he wanted to build a church in Ethiopia, in Magdala, his capital city. And they went there and looted, by their own words, looted and did other things. And the manuscripts are here in England. Oh, that's the archive I was looking for. I told you, if you're 3,000 years old, you must have a few records put down somewhere that can be used to mitigate your famine situation now. If I use the Kebra Nagast, if I make a film of that, if I make a movie of that, if I make a play of that, if the Jamaicans make music with that, you will raise sufficient money to pay whatever bills you have to pay. It's how you use your own spiritual and cultural history. That is my economic. I was trained in economics and administrative sales management and stuff like that. So I'm using my scientific protocols to solve this great famine problem. Now, when I reached St. Agnes Place, Rastagasa, he was a vice president of the Ethiopian World Federation at the time. And he gave me my first instruction. Ras Pepe Judah was president. Ras Malachi was the chaplain. Ras Bingi was the chief fireman, Aya Bingi. Ras Tagasa was the first administrator that understood what was happening. So after I went through the president and chaplain, I found Ras Tagasa. So he was authoritative. He said to me, what is your purpose for coming here? I said to him, I saw famine on the television, it hurt my soul, it hurt my spirit, and I was led here. So he says, good, I will give you a duty. Well, where I'm coming from, I used to give duties, So he says, oh, what duty is that? He says, stop the famine and turn it back. And he put his hand in my face like that. In Jamaica, when people do something and put the money in your face, it's like an instruction. Stop the famine and turn it back. Well, I understood the instruction, stop the famine, and turn it back. I understood that. But where are my resources? Because it's going to take millions to stop this famine and turn it back. Where's my resources? Or you have to create that yourself. Stop the famine, turn it back, create your own resources. All right. How do I do that? And we started from there, because I didn't know the country. No one told me as a child in Jamaica or going to school in England where Ethiopia was. I didn't know if it was East or West Africa. I was not told that in school. So I had to find out, where is this place? Why are you hungry? Why are you starving? It is an embarrassment to us here in England, because I'm buying my £2.50 sandwiches and I cannot eat it because I see your situation. I've got excess clothes in my wardrobe. I don't use them anymore. I can't throw them away because they are valuable clothes, but can I give you my excess shoes? How do I get it to you? I see your situation and
So Fire, just explain more, right, how the retrieval of the books, right, can assist the stopping of the famine, or what was the other rationales in your thinking?
I hear your question. It started with the Kebra Nagast. I left Kew Gardens, the files. Now I'm tracing a book now called Kebra Nagast, because on the basis of that book, you gave the scepter. What is the import of that book? So I reach source.
School of Oriental and African Studies.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm in there and I see lots of Ethiopian books, but I couldn't find what I was looking for. Then I was moving in the spirit. And
what year are we talking about now?
we're talking 1981, 82.
All right.
So no, I was moving in. Then I was in ISIS. I'll tell you, there's a tune, Ras Michael and his Sons of Negus. I was moving with his tune. I want to say painting white and full blah blah, and his drum, his repeating drum. But no more shot. I put on a cassette tape. We did not see these of this, and I rewind a C60 tape, and I plug it into my Walkman, and that's all I was listening to every day. Over, I can sing it backwards. I can play the funder to it. So I know that was my vehicle of travel, music in my ears. So I was in SOAS, and the Spirit says, go to the British Library, it's up there. So I go there, and I says, I'm looking for the Kebra Nagas. And the woman said, oh, okay, sir, I'll bring it to you. Really? And when I see the book, I've never seen English written in this way before. I'm a student of English. I do know something. It's Jamaica. We brought down English to our level to find out how it got. Then we master it. I have never seen English written in this way before. The history of Adam, Seth. I've never seen these things. So I started to write it. I write about the first 16 pages. I used to take it back to St. Agnes Place and talk about big debates every day, every evening. Then one day I said to Rastafari, he said, I can write it, but it takes me a long time. And there's another book I saw over there, it's called The Mysteries of the Heaven and the Earth. I would like to have a look at that book as well. So the vibe said, well, get up and walk down to that bookshop over there, sir. And I get up, walk down to the bookshop. I'm looking for a copy of the Kebra Nagas. And the man said, yes, sir. I run downstairs, I run back, and says, here it is, sir. He said, Lord God Almighty. He says, £15. Mr. Write you a check. And the check bounced. I still owe him my money because I know the books. I owe him that money. I owe you the money. Right? But with that book, I could make a record. I could make a play. I could make a film. I could make a big-time blockbuster movie. I could use that ginza that is earned through your own intellectual property and give you something of it. If Jamaican musicians knew this information, they would be elevated in their thought pattern, in their music ability. They would explain in chapter and verse the whole thing, because we in Jamaica didn't see that.
From a spiritual perspective, why do you think that the Kebra Nagas and also the Book of Life you mentioned was significant?
They were significant to me because they were documented as the basis of why the scepter was given to Emperor Haile Selassie I by King George V of England That was the basis of why this gold scepter was given. They are the basis of why Emperor Haile Selassie is the Lion of Judah according to English political history. According to the Jamaican, him is Lion of Judah, King of Kings, because the Revelation 5 verse 5 says so. But according to English, they've studied it according to the ancient history of the country and the modern history, according to their own reckoning. Haile Selassie is the Lion of Judah.
Which is an acknowledgement of his...
This is an acknowledgement of the spirituality of what the Jamaicans are saying. But it is not explained in a way that ordinary thinking English people could understand. Because when the mighty dread are talking up, a fire and brimstone him chuck out time mountain, and if your spirit not did it, you run fast and you tremble and you feel it when the mighty dread in them element. And them not take talk. They give it. And like say, you have a good for ask them a question. Because them is fire angels, them Malachi. Him is the first Malachi stand up and say his name Malachi, and when him talk, and when you go read Malachi in the Bible, him talking, him is the swift messenger. They are the first generation of Rastafari in England. We're the second generation.
So how many books were retrieved in all?
2,800 according to the court records. I'm not going to tell you the exact details of the movement of them, but let me say this. Me and Ras Michael moved with the same little cassette tape there for a very long time. And because the music was so fast, and when you loop the cassette, it speed up itself, the music became faster. So I like playing drums very fast. I don't like slow funde. I like fast funde because that's how Ras Michael played. That speeded up the Irish. You could walk fast, talk fast, do things. Your movement is on a different level. So what took me probably 2.5 years seemed like 6 months.
I see. Do you want to name any of the other institutions that you went to?
Oh, it's not a secret. It's a matter of the court record. There's the SOAS, the School of Oriental and African Studies. There's the British Library. There's the Foreign Office Library. One day I went into the Foreign Office, knocked the door. I used to work in Smith Square, so I know King Charles Street. I need to see your library because they've got the internals. Yes, sir. Go in the library. And they've got the most wonderful collection of original documents in archive, because all their councils and ambassadors send reports to them. So they archive them in books. So I looked into the blue books to find who was the ambassador, who was saying what. And they reveal things to you, ambassadors and councils and things like that. So, Foreign Office Library, Lambeth Library, British Bible Society, British and Foreign Bible Society.
Right. Yes.
Oxford and Cambridge University. Yeah, the main depositories.
And my understanding is that your intention was to be caught by the authorities.
Oh yes. You see, if understand that there are children starving. Understand that. Understand that there's a daily death toll. Understand that. You need to do something to make the people aware that something must be done for these people on a governmental level. Now, it seems that you've got the archives that belongs to them. My reasoning then was, after the looting of it became apparent later on, but my reasoning was then use the archives to mitigate their famine. Develop their archives, tell their story, get sympathy for them that will earn their live money that can mitigate the sharp end of the famine.
Was that successful in your opinion?
Other things came up. The Jamming for Africa project came up. The Bob Geldof, the Live Aid,
right.
That came as a result of the Jamming for Ethiopia program started by St. Agnes Place.
Yes.
The jamming musicians jamming for Ethiopia.
Interesting.
We went to Crystal Palace, we went to Wembley Stadium, we went to QPR Stadium, we went to Chelsea Stadium, all the big London stadiums, see if we get a big concert in London jamming for Ethiopia.
Yes.
Well, all of them said no. But we gave the plans and the documents to the people.
So there was some success.
Oh man, 2 years, Bob Geldof is doing a big concert in Wembley. Tiny Roland is behind him. And he's doing, what are you doing? What we put on paper? And you got a backer, Tiny Rollins is your backer. Who's Tiny Rollins? The chief executive of Lonro, the biggest commercial food producer in Africa at the time of the famine was Lonro. Tiny Roland, the chief executive. They were the biggest commercial food producer, and they engineered that famine.
Well, what that says to me, Russ, is that your campaign to liberate the books to mitigate the circumstance in Ethiopia was successful with the hindsight of history.
It was the instruction from Rastagas was to stop the famine and turn it back, and those instructions are still operative.
Rastafari.
They've never been superseded.
No, the whole episode of that was turned into a film entitled The Book Liberator.
Yeah.
Did you have full involvement in that? Because this film was actually aired on national UK TV.
Not full involvement. When the man, we went to court. 2,800 books got missing. Sunday Times I write articles say Ray.
And what year was that in court again?
85.
All right.
About that time. Sunday Times, there was a Sunday Times article. Book raids go political. It was the talk of town, everyone was reading it. So the police come, knock on my door. I was in Balam. Yes, I'm in Seymour, Mclean. We're looking for you about some book. Yeah, but officer, that was last year. I gave you the notice last year. I'm doing something else now. You have to come with us. Yeah, let me just pack up with me though and come with you because I'm expecting you last year. You see. So, reach the station, Holborn Police Station. I'm going to put a cassette tape here, sir, and there's a microphone, and I'm going to ask you a question, and you're going to answer the question, and the tape is going to record it, alright? Officer, I mean him reggae I me talk dub pan sours in my tape. You can't take me 1-to-1. Me murder you, officer. You can't take me 1-to-1. You can't give me 1-1. Me talk pan sours in my son. Me mash up DJ. Oh, you can give me 1-1. Start. What's your name? Rastafari. Rastafari? What does that mean, officer? You've done your research. You know what it means, officer. All right, you say we know what it means, but you went to play and you stole books. Officer, didn't you go to Ethiopia and loot the original manuscripts, officer? Oh no, you stole. Officer, and the story started. So he said, I've been to the place and it's impossible for one man to do the job. Who is in the gang? Gang officer? Me no work with gang officer. Me come from Clarendon, Jamaica, Bedford, Crawl. By the time the gang done make them argument and decision, the job done already, officer. Me no work with gang and me and Rastafari work, officer. No, it's impossible for one man to do that job. Impossible for who, officer? Then how did you do it? I will tell you. I come from Jamaica, right? And it thing upset me spirit. You see people, don't go into no long story, Seymour. You're good at that. Just tell me how you did it. Well, inside of the room, there were some books on the table. And one of them was Ethiopian Magic Scrolls. And I saw the book there. And I turned my back on the book and I said, magic. He said, how does it work? I said, you little blows, I said, me tell you, don't take me 1-to-1. See a book there, read that book, that will tell you how magic works. The officer took up the book, opened it, on a cranny page. You know cranny page? Unfinished drawing, don't look cranny, look cranny. When you see that, his skin goes up. And then shut the book, so I never asked him no more questions about how the book moved. So I never tell him. So we reach a court. The judge said, Mr. Mclean, you was in the dock for 2 days and you said you were the instrument that moved the book. In my language, that means guilty. The jury, 12 jury members find you guilty and I myself think you are guilty. But no one proved the methodology of how you move the book. And when you play the tape interview, You said you used magic.